Hello and welcome back to the Across the Pod NFL podcast as we preview week 7 of the 2024 NFL season. I am, as ever, your host, Andy Davis. With me today, I've got a returning guest. Of course, when the Jags are in town, we've got to get a Jags fan on. It's our resident Jags fan. Here with us today is Lee White, otherwise known as BritJag. Lee, how are things?
Well, after the weekend, they could be better. But I really appreciate you having me on. Hopefully this week is going to be more positive. So,
yeah, we will get into the game in a bit. It must just be, obviously we'll get into more later on. But yeah, it's exciting time for Jags fans. Of course, every year you get to see you team play in London, and of course you will be there. Of course, in the stadium at Wembley when you play the Patriots. How exciting is that for you to once again be able to see your team not only just in person but also be in the presser?
Yeah, it's great, and it's an experience that I don't think I'll ever kind of get used to or take for granted. It's special, and like I say, just having the Jags over here every year, I think it played a part in me choosing them to be my team. But it is nice to have that connection, and I've got a lot of friends that I've made through kind of the social media groups, and it kind of gives us that time every year to kind of meet up and catch up, and it's not just about the game itself. It's kind of about the community that's building around the Jags in the UK, and I think that's kind of what the whole point of them doing this was.
Yeah, and I think there's obviously with the stuff going on potentially. All the stuff that is definitely going on, the new stadium being built, and there's a lot of talk about it being more than just 2 games in London for the Jags when they do that. And yeah, I can certainly see how the Jags are so well followed. And I think we didn't see it as much last weekend just gone, but I think certainly we'll see it like last year at Wembley as well. We'll see a lot of Jags fans there on Sunday against the Patriots. Could be a lot of Pat because they haven't been here in so long, and there's a lot of Patriots fans now in the UK because of Tom Brady, because of that team that did so well. So I'm intrigued how the crowd's gonna be. But I think certainly, there's gonna be a lot of Jags fans, and I think it's gonna be once again a good time for you guys. And now you're having obviously the extra few days, back-to-back games as well. It just gives you that extra advantage because I think you guys paid the price for it on the Sunday just gone. The fact that, you did arrive so late in the week, where the Bears arrived so early in the week. Now you've got the advantage of having that a few extra days in London compared to the Patriots. I think that's only gonna work in your favour.
Yeah, I think so. I think last year we saw a benefit in the second game against the Bills. The Bills didn't look ready to go. I don't know how much of it played a part in the loss, if I'm honest, because I feel like if anything, we started better. We started the game better, and it wasn't that dissimilar to our normal routine. We normally fly Thursday night arrive early hours of Friday morning, kind of 6, 7 a.m. And I think they landed this time at about 10, 11 a.m. on the Friday. So it's okay. Granted, it's a few hours, but in the grand scheme of things, I don't think we can put anything down to that too much.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a lot of it's down to the fact that the Bears are just a better team than you. I think a lot of it's just down to that. They're 4-2, you're 1-5. I think you can probably put a lot of that down to that. But also, I do think as well the fact the Bears were there so early. I think personally made a little bit of a difference. I don't think it'd have been quite a sort of a route as it was. So I think maybe it'd have been a bit closer if they had arrived, say, on the first day or on Friday like you did. I do think it had a little bit of an impact because you see most years the team that arrived early tends to win. That's why neutral venue, you also take form sometimes out the window, and that does come into play. So I do feel like that was in the Bears' advantage. But it was a good day though. We mentioned it in our week 6 preview with Johnny Bisbee about how good it was, the atmosphere wise with the Bears fans, and just wish it was a better game. But before we go on to the predictions for Sunday, let's go to our Thursday night game. Actually, before we do that, we'll go back to last week's results. So Olivia Peebles, who was our Jets fan coming on for preview week 6, she got 12 correct scores. Only the Cowboys and Jets winning were her different one. But for the first time ever on the podcast, we've got a perfect score. I had all 14 games correct. I had the Niners, Bears, Ravens, Packers, Texans, Bucks, Eagles, Colts, Chargers, Steelers, Falcons, Lions, Bengals, and Bills all winning. So I've never had, in our 4 years doing this show, no one's ever come up with a perfect score. So yeah, Seamus not 16 rather than 14, but either way, that does mean I'm in the lead. But was Olivia actually second, with both Sam Andrews and Greg Kett tied for third with 11, whereas right at the bottom is actually me from week 3 in the NFL. So yeah, I've got both top and the bottom spot in this leaderboard, which is it's kind of a good thing and a bad thing. But yeah, Thursday night game is going to be between the New Orleans Saints and the Denver Broncos. The home team is the Saints. Lee, who wins this game, Saints or Broncos?
I don't know, because I feel like the Saints started quite well, but I feel like they're on a bit of a, I don't know, a downward trend, I'd say. So I think I'm going to go Broncos on that one.
Yeah, same here. I think the Broncos have lost games, granted, but I think they've looked good at times. Bo Nix had a great scrambling play on Sunday. You got Cortland Sutton's been, as ever, really good. And I think the Saints are just who we thought they were. And I mean, they are at home, so it's always sort of a good bet to go with the home team on a shorter week. The Saints could easily win this game. You know what? I'm going to call an audible. I'm going for the Saints to win. They're due a win. They haven't won a game in a few weeks. I'm going to go for the Saints to win. That could come back to bite me in the backside. Next up is the game that the main reason you're here is Jags hosting the Patriots at Wembley. Of course, we're both going to be there, as we mentioned before. Lee, who wins this game, Jags or Patriots?
I've got to go Jags. I can't go any different.
No, I've gone for the Jags. I think you both are very similar stages in your seasons in terms of both only got one win. Both teams haven't been great this year, and I think the fact that not only have you got a few extra days, but also you're used to playing in London as well. Pats haven't been there since, I believe, 2014, 2015. It's been a long time since they played in London at the Patriots. So I think they're going to be, and also they are a team that's in transition. So I think the Jags win. For those of you who didn't see on my TikTok and my write-up for the touchdown NFL, I did attend the Jags practice session on a Friday. Got to meet Reece Zammit, ask questions to Trevor Lawrence and Doug Peterson. So do check that out on the socials, both on Andy Talks NFL on TikTok, as well as the podcast social. So _the pod for all those questions. And we are going to be at the Patriots this week, their training session on the Friday. So you expect to see some content from there. I believe it's Drake May and Jared May who are going to be on the podium. So keep an eye out for questions from myself, hopefully, at those two individuals. So what's your take been on the Jags season overall, Lee? Because it's been, my mind's gone to what you predicted to start the season, but I don't think it was a 1-5 start from memory. And
It definitely wasn't.
No, it just seems to be. How do you blame the coaching? Do you blame the coordinators? Is Lawrence got to be blamed? How are you seeing the season and what has been a season? Let's face it, it hasn't been at all what you expected.
No, not at all. I think there is blame to go around. I think all parties. I think we had. I'd say there were needs that weren't addressed in the off season by the GM. Not a big fan, as many Jags fans, not a big fan of Trent Baalke. I feel like he's made some very costly mistakes during his time in Jacksonville, and I think he's had too many opportunities at this point. Doug, I don't know. I mean, his comments after the game saying that it's my mind's gone blank now, but it's like the attitude and the mindset, and it needs to be changed, and he's the one that's responsible for that. So there's that concern as well. And there was obviously reports a few weeks back that he'd lost the locker room. I'd say the offensive coordinator, Press Taylor, I don't feel like I don't know. Some of the play calls at times have been very strange. They aren't the. I don't know. They're not the obvious one, which isn't obviously always bad. But when you're struggling for momentum, I think sometimes you've got to play it safe. And to be honest, I really want to criticize our new defensive coordinator, Ryan Nielsen, who came from the Falcons this season. His scheme, despite injuries, admit that we have had some injuries on defense, but he has this hugely rotational system with the defense, and we will have we'll have drives where we don't have a defensive end on the field, and we've got players like Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker sitting out, and I don't think he's ever really given a clear reason as to why he does this. I mean, a lot of people assume it's to try and keep players fresh, but you've got to have your best players on the field. It's especially when times are struggling, and that Josh Hines-Allen is. I don't know if you've ever had the opportunity to speak to him at any of the events or press conferences or anything, but
no, never. I've asked him a question at a post match, but never like really been. I know friends of the show, Jay Lawrence, got to have a one-on-one with him. I never had that experience, but it always seems to me, I could be wrong on it. It always seems quite like a chilled back kind of guy. I don't believe.
Yeah.
Actually, I remember I went to the thing. I think I was with you actually. Or was it the year before where he came down for an NFL Live thing? Was it in Bristol or London? He came down for one of those events as well. Just seems like nothing really ever worries him or phases him.
No, but I feel like he's really he's a really nice guy, but also he is a real leader. And listening to him talk, and I think he is that on the defense. And I think you miss something when that player is not on the field. And I certainly don't think I don't think there's a fitness issue on his part, because I think at one point this season, the percentage of snaps, they were on the field like 60-70% of snaps, and that's just not enough. Like, these are top players. We've just paid him a lot of money. He was a first round pick. Trayvon Walker was a number 1 overall pick, and Trayvon Walker's having a pretty good year, and to have them not on the field is hugely detrimental. And we've had the same issue with linebackers. Part of me wonders if our pass defense is suffering because of this, because we're ranked 32nd in the NFL. Are people fully aware of what their roles are? If you've got such heavy rotation so regularly, it does have to become like, I mean, obviously I'm not a professional, but I would imagine it becomes quite hard to know and remember your roles and who's doing what and who's meant to be where when there is such heavy rotation. It's not something I don't think I've ever seen in the NFL, the level that we're experiencing. But he seems insistent on staying with that. Trevor Lawrence, I think some blame goes his way. He has had some poor games. I certainly don't think he was at fault on Sunday. I don't think you can really put the game on him when the defense is giving up the points that he is. And obviously he's having the receivers dropping the ball and fumbles and things like that going against him. And just overall, yeah, like I say, there's a lot of areas that have just not kind of worked out the way that I think a lot of Jags fans expected at the start of the year and expected a positive season. I mean, we've had back-to-back winning seasons the last 2 years, and for it to start this way has been a bit of a shock, really.
Yeah, I mean, I had you finishing 3rd in the division pre-season, and certainly didn't think a 1-5 start. And I do think there was that one throw he made against Bears. I think must have been double, triple coverage, which is really bad. But he had more yards than Caleb Williams, and I do think. I don't think the blame is really with Lawrence. I think the blame is more, I think, sadly, with coaching. I think maybe not. Doug, maybe you could look at Press Taylor, but I think it just seems to me like there's no real. It just feels like very stale. I don't really feel I'm watching. Like, you see other teams are making all these cool gadget plays, all these cool flea flickers. They're doing jet sweep. They're doing all these different kind of little gadget little plays and nice little. But I don't think I've seen much of anything with the Jags. I'm looking at the offense, defense wise. At times they held the Bears to first quarter especially. I thought they were really impressive. The Bears are struggling, but then after that, it just seemed to implode, particularly against the run. But I just think, it's. I think maybe you are actually with the whole everyone's got partly to blame, because I think all round it's just been a bit of a car crash, really.
Definitely, and the thing is, at this point of the season now, I don't think necessarily anything changes by sacking Doug immediately, or obviously Trent Bulky, the GM. I think a lot of fans have been calling for him to be gone for a few years. It's obviously nothing official, but a lot of the fans seem to think he kind of fancies himself as a bit of a coach, because he seems to insert himself into kind of practice sessions and kind of comes down and involves himself in practice sessions, which traditionally a GM wouldn't really do. Not to the extent he does it anyway. So I think I don't think he's. I mean, listening to 49ers fans, obviously he was with the 49ers before us, and pretty much every kind of criticism they had of him has kind of come to fruition. It feels like he hasn't learned his lesson. He seems to like to go against the grain, and I think a lot of people felt that was what the Trayvon Walker pick was. Aiden Hutchinson seemed the obvious choice. Everyone was kind of banking on us taking Aiden Hutchinson, but he decided to take Trayvon Walker, who a few days before the draft wasn't really even in the talk for the top kind of couple of picks, kind of wasn't even in the conversation. And out of nowhere, it felt like he decided to make this pick. And sometimes I feel like he's trying to be almost edgy. Like he's trying to be like, yeah, like, I saw this when no one else did. And too often it's not come to fruition.
Yeah, I mean, look at how both players' trajectories have gone in their careers. I mean, Walker has improved. He had, I think, 10 and a half sacks last season. Yeah. There was a play against the Colts last week when he got the win where he sort of got the fumble and then Hines Allen covered it. And, we're seeing him now improve. But Hutchinson from day one was just like straight out the door, an amazing player. And I think, obviously we all know the impact it may have now on the Lions, him not being there. And I think it's been a trend in recent years of the second overall pick being better than the first overall pick. And I think this seems to be another one. But I think, it doesn't mean that Walker's going to have a bad career. I think he can still have a good career. But I think there'll always be that little bit probably in Jags fans' minds thinking it could have been Hutchinson, it could have been him. But, these things, it could have been easily been a case where, he goes to the Jags, Walker goes to the Lions, and same thing happens. Maybe it's just being around a better team, better coaching. Maybe that all has something to do with it. Let's move on, though, to the 6 p.m. slate. First of all, it is the Seahawks traveling to the Falcons. Lee, who wins, Falcons or Seahawks?
It's quite a tough one. I think I'm going to go Seahawks.
Interesting. Okay, because I've gone for the Falcons. I just think they're overall better team. I think they're in better form as well. I think that they lose a thriller against the Buccaneers. Sorry, they win a thriller against the Buccaneers, and then they go out and beat the Panthers. I think they're rolling right now, and I think the Seahawks. They had a good start, 3-0, but to lose to the Giants, they lost. Most recently as well, and I've literally forgotten who he lost to. Oh, the 49ers on Thursday Night Football. They have got a few days extra rest than the Falcons do, but I think the Falcons get the win at home as well. Moving on to our next game, I want to sort of combine the two because the Tennessee Titans travel to the Buffalo Bills and the Cleveland Browns host the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, it's been a trade literally has happened. Well, we'll record this on Tuesday evening. Within the last hour or two, it's been rumoured of Amari Cooper going to the Bills from the Browns. Now, I think even if that hadn't happened, I still would have backed the Bills winning against the Titans, still would have backed the Bengals beating the Browns. But I think now that kind of trade just really emphasises my feelings that both the Bills and the Bengals are going to get the wins in these games. Lee, Titans at Bills, Bengals at Browns. Who wins these two games for you?
No, I agree. I think the Bills. We saw them earlier in the year against us, and they looked a very good team. So yeah, and I would always pick them over the Titans anyway. So, and the same with the Bengals. I think especially now with the Browns losing Amari Cooper, I think that's just one of their top weapons gone. It's going to have an impact.
Yeah, and I think we all see now Josh Allen getting a weapon again that he's probably missed since Diggs, and someone who probably isn't that much of an impact on the locker room, which maybe Diggs was seen as during his time in Buffalo. Now, I think for me, two of the next three games are really hard to pick. I think these are the two games a week And actually, no, there's one more that's on it later on. I think there's two really good games here. Houston Texans travel to the Packers, and the Lions travel to the Vikings. Oh my God, these two were very hard to predict. I do. I think I'm going to go for the Lions Vikings first. I think the Lions win. I think even without Hutchinson, and the Vikings had a bye week granted, but I still think the Vikings train is going to end soon. Darnold had a poor second half in both games against the Packers 3 weeks ago, and then last week the win against the Jets in London. I didn't think he was that great second half, and I think the Lions are a very, very, very good team. I think they've had a one loss so far. Probably are due a loss, but at the same time, I think so are the Vikings. I think even in Minnesota with the skull chant there, I think the Lions get it done. I think I've only had once this whole season the Vikings winning game on these predictions episode. I just keep thinking he's going to be the old Darnold that we saw in New York and Carolina. And then Packers hosting the Texans. This is actually probably the hardest to call for me. This is actually really hard. I'm going to go purely for home advantage. I'm going for the Packers to win against the Texans. I think the Texans, they are 5-1. I don't think they've been actually an impressive 5-1 team. I think the defense has been quite poor. And I'm a big fan of the Packers. I've said before many times in this series or last season as well. And they were my NFC pick to win the NFC. I love what the Packers are doing. I love this for Stephen Cole. They've got a good defense, quite an underrated defense. So I'm going to give the Packers a win, and I'm giving the Lions a win. Lee, how are you seeing these two games? Who's winning?
No, I'm actually in agreement with you both. I'm a big fan of the Lions. I really like Dan Campbell. I think going into, I suppose, the last couple of years, I felt a lot of similarities with the Lion. I feels like almost like they were the Jags kind of NFC counterpart. Obviously not so much this year. And in regards to the Packers, I think they'll beat the Texans. For me, I think they flew a little bit under the radar this offseason. I didn't expect them to be kind of awful, but I thought they would kind of be middle of the road. And from the little I have seen, I think I've been quite impressed. So I think I'm going to go for the Packers because Lambeau Field's a tough place to go at the best of times.
Yeah, I agree. Next up involves my team, the Dolphins, as we travel to the Colts. I'm going for us to win purely because of the bye week factor. I don't think either team is in great shakes. I don't really. I think this could be a trap game for us. Not a trap game, but I think this could be a game where we, could slip up because Joe Flacco has done fairly well. But there's talk of the return of Anthony Richardson, and I did have him looking now a really stupid pick. I had him as winning the MVP, which looks entirely stupid now. I thought I'd be bold and go for a road pick, not just Mahomes. He hasn't been great when he has played. There's talk of him coming back. I don't think he's been that great. I think he's definitely a work in progress. So I think if Flacco plays, I'm less confident of a win. But I think if Richardson plays, I'm more confident of a win. I just think that, purely the bye week factor, I'm going to give the Dolphins a win. Lee, Colts or Dolphins?
So having obviously seen the Colts last week against the Jags, and Joe Flacco playing a brilliant game. And I mean, admittedly, it's against our defense, which doesn't really say much at the moment, but he absolutely annihilated. He scored 24 points in the fourth quarter. He's playing really well. So I think it does come down to if he's playing, because at the minute I would have him over Richardson. From what I've seen, I don't think you can take him out, but I wasn't that impressed with the Colts overall. So I think I'm going to give Miami the edge there.
That is a correct answer. I think the fact I was praying for the Jets to win, which I never do, on last night, because we could have gone to that game against the Colts, just one win behind the Bills, and they're probably going to get a win this week anyway. But I thought, you never know, it could be a game that could get us top of the division. But I think we're probably looking. If I'm honest, after the start we made, if you told me after we won 1-3, you'll make the wildcard rounds as a wildcard team, I'll take it. So still only one win, I think, behind the current 7th seed. It's still up for grabs, and I think even though I'm not as big as fan, Tua is a massive upgrade on Tyler Huntley. And I think when he gets back, there's a chance we could make a run and progress, although we have got an incredibly hard second half of the season. But I think in this game alone, I think, we saw last week Jalen Wright have a really good game, and Mostert came back, and with the welcome addition having Wright there because A-Chain did have an injury, and I don't know whether he's playing this game, but I think the run game is going to be key. I think that's probably where we're going to go, whether it even is through Tyler Huntley, through his legs, or whether it's through the run game. And I think we've seen Mostert back now. I think he was a big part of our team last year. It was 18, 19 touchdowns in total. I think if we can just keep what we did last week, run the ball all the time, I think this could be our recipe to win the game. I think we saw Tank Bigsby, as you saw yourself, Tank Bigsby have a great game on the ground against the Colts. And I think we've seen from that game alone that, the Colts aren't exactly the best run defense team this year. So I think that if we can go down that route, go down the run, just pound the ground, use Huntley when you need to, don't use him all the time. I think that's our key to success in this game. And I think, with two ridiculously fast players in Wright and Mostert, having OBJ now there, who's got his first game in our game against the Patriots, I think all's looking rosy, considering how it was maybe a fortnight ago, the mood in the Dolphins camp. So, give me the Dolphins win. Apologies, those Colts fans listening. It's going to be a Dolphins win. The final lot, 6 p.m. games, is we've gone from one of the hardest games to call in Lions against Vikings to another hard one, I think, in the Eagles against the Giants. I think if you asked me this a fortnight ago, I would have said, not Nelly, give me Eagles all day long. And I'm still big on the Eagles, but I think there's a bit of unrest in the camp. Sirianni, obviously, taunting the fans recently. Give me a Giants win over the Eagles. Probably a shock. The Giants aren't a good team. But Daniel Jones hasn't actually been that bad as we all thought this year. It hasn't been amazing. He's certainly not an MVP conversation, anything like that. But I think the Giants, this is my shock of the week. I think the Giants are going to beat the Eagles at home at MetLife to further ramp up the heat on Nick Sirianni. Lee, your take on the game? Who's winning?
I think I've got to go Eagles. I think they'll still have, despite their issues, I think they'll have enough to see off the Giants.
I think, one thing I haven't mentioned is Saquon Barkley returning to the MetLife, which interesting what kind of reception he received. I don't think it was taken too well by the fans. I don't think him going to the Eagles. So I think that's going to be interesting to see how the reception is there and how that goes. But I think it should be a good game. I think it should be a great game. I do believe it could be a really high-scoring game. I don't think both teams have been that great defensively at times, particularly in the secondary. So I think this could be a good game, and I think that it should be an exciting prospect. Going on to the 9 p.m. slate, first of all sees the Rams host the Raiders. Both teams haven't been great this year. I'm going for the Rams to win. I think, both teams are great, are bad even. Both teams aren't doing well. Look at the quarterback. Aidan O'Connell or Gardner Minshew up against Matt Stafford. Give me Stafford all day long. So I'm going to go for the Rams to win. Lee, Rams or Raiders?
Yeah, I agree. I think, I don't really rate much of the Raiders this season so far, and I don't. I think that the Rams should win that one.
Moving on to the next game, which is the Panthers traveling to Washington to take on the Commanders. Lee, who wins, Commanders or Panthers?
I think that's probably one of the easiest ones to call of the week. And I think, to be honest, I don't see the Panthers doing anything there. I think the Commanders are having a really surprisingly good season. I don't really feel like a lot of people saw coming, really.
No, me neither. I'm still in my head thinking of having a bad team. I've never actually seen them be good. I was a fan of the NFL since 2009, but never really watched it until 2015. And I've never really seen them be good, ever. Like, they won the division with a losing record, granted, but they've never, ever been good in my lifetime. So I'm still in my head, my brain's just in autopilot thinking they're a bad team. Whenever I think of these predictions, I keep thinking, oh, crap, they are actually good. They're absolutely balling. I mean, they did lose to the Ravens, but it was by 7 points. They scored over 20 as well. This is a good team. They're 4-1 for the first time since 2008. They had a good start. And I think against one of the worst teams in the league, we'll see them get back to winning ways at home as well. Easy peasy. Now the game of the week. This is the game of the week. Our last lot of 9 p.m. games. Spies on actually. Spies is not on Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football. Niners hosting the Chiefs. Now we've got two friends of ours, Paul Hope from 49er Faithful UK and Brad Simcox, otherwise known as BritJag, who are actually meeting up for the first time in person in Manchester for a watch party as Niners fans and Chiefs fans meet up. So that's going to be an incredible experience. I'm hoping to bring them on next week to talk about that in more detail. But yeah, that's going to be a really exciting event. For those Niners fans and Chiefs fans listening or watching this podcast, do go out on socials and try and find their two pages, because there may be some seats available, maybe some tickets available. Do check it out, because that's going to be a hell of a experience. And for this game, never, ever, ever doubt or go against Andy Reid on a bye week. I'm going for the Chiefs to win this game. I think the Niners have been inconsistent, whilst I think they're still lucky that their division's been so bad this year. They're still winning the division. I think they can afford to lose the game. I think the Chiefs, same as them as well. They're in a really easy division as well. But I just think you can never, ever write off Andy Reid team after bye week. So I'm going to go for the Chiefs to win, to keep the unbeaten streak going. And according to my predictions, they'll have the last remaining unbeaten record this season. Lee, Niners or Chiefs?
So I think I'm gonna go with the Niners.
Okay.
I don't, like you said, I don't think, even with their 5-0 record, I don't feel like the Chiefs have really kind of lighting anything up. I don't think they look really special or anything like that. And obviously it's hard to count out Mahomes at any point. But I don't know, I just feel like the 49ers might have a little bit of a, I don't know, they might have a bit of an extra bite to them, because obviously they've come up against the Chiefs so often, it feels like, in recent years, and they've always kind of just fallen short. And I don't know, maybe this might just be their chance to kind of get one up on them.
Yeah, they'll be looking for revenge, certainly, after what happened in the Super Bowl. And I think we saw the Eagles last year do a similar thing. They got revenge on the Chiefs. I think that was actually after bye week for the Chiefs as well. So maybe history will repeat itself. Maybe Reid will once again lose after bye week. But I think the Chiefs, for them, their room's so bad. I don't think they need to be perfect. I think they're so good and so well coached. I think they're still winning games despite being not great. And I agree with you. I don't think they've been that great this year. Mahomes has got, I believe it's something like 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. That could be wrong. That could be a stat that I've misread. But he hasn't been that great. But as we've seen with them in recent years, and the Patriots for many years, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And they could easily, especially with their division being so easily, they could easily go into playoffs, albeit probably as a 3rd or 4th seed, with a 10-win season, 9-win season, and still go out and make the Super Bowl and probably win it. So I think we can never write them off. And I think certainly I have more faith in them losing to the Niners in week 7 than I do when it matters in the playoffs in the Super Bowl. So yeah, I can see the Niners. Actually, I think this could be the one where I can see it being changed the most. Maybe Eagles Giants is one of them, but I can see this one being wrong. But also, I do still think off a bye week they may still win this game. Sunday Night Football, once again, the Jets get prime time. They're going to Pittsburgh. They take on the Steelers. Lee, Steelers or Jets?
It's a difficult one, because obviously the Jets have got a lot going on right now. Obviously with obviously Salah, obviously having he's gone. Obviously their new wide receiver that they've recently acquired. I don't know. That's for me. That's quite a tough one. I'm gonna go because I don't know. I just feel like the Jets might have a bit of a boost from kind of the events that have gone on the last couple of days. I feel like there's been a lot going on. There's a lot surrounding the franchise, but the Steelers are a pretty good team. So I don't know. I'm going to go with Jets just to be a bit go against the grain, I suppose. Because on paper it looks like it should be the Steelers, I think.
Yeah, I've gone for the Jets as well. I think if he does play, they got adding Adams that factor as well. I think if you take away the loss they had to the they beat the Patriots. I think in all the games they've lost this year, apart from the Vikings, they've made a good account themselves. They narrowly lost the Niners, and they put up a good fight against Bills and should have won that game, really. If Greg Zuerlein had his kicking boots on, I think that would have been a win for... He missed 2 very kickable field goals, lost by 3 points. So I think the Jets, I think, better than the record suggests. And I know they had that poor game against the Vikings. They were bad in that game. But apart from that, I think they've been actually not too bad. And I think Steelers, I definitely lost my faith in Justin Fields. I don't think he's been that great, really, at all in the NFL. And I don't think he's been actually that... He's actually scored a few touchdowns last weekend, a rushing touchdown here and there. But I don't believe he is like a long-term guy. I think you can win with him. I don't think you can win because of him. And I think the coaching-wise could be a thing, and Tomlin could outschool their interim head coach. So I think the Steelers could win this one, especially at home as well. And on a longer week, Jets, of course, having a game last night, so there's a 1 day less rest. But no, I think ultimately, the Jets get the win. But in a very defensive-led affair, I think it could be something like 12-6 or 14-7. I think it could be quite a low-scoring affair. Once again, to the annoyance of myself and many NFL fans, we've got a double header on Monday Night Football, which I personally absolutely hate. Don't know who thought of it. Don't know who planned that out. To have 2 games on at the same time. For me, it's not at all what you want as an NFL fan. We've got Bucks hosting the Ravens and the Cardinals hosting the Chargers. I'm going to go for wins for the Ravens and the Chargers, both road wins. I was torn between the Cardinals and the Chargers. I think the Cardinals have an exciting team on their day, but I think the Chargers is just really well coached, and I think Jim Harbaugh, they're not beating teams by 40 points, they're not blowing teams out, but I think they're just very well coached, very well organised, and I think this team will, I'm not going to say ease past the Cardinals. I think it'll be a comfortable win, maybe a 10-point win, 15-point win. And I think the Ravens, this is actually a really good game. I know I'll be picking this game over the Cardinals Chargers, certainly. I will actually be on a plane to Miami when this game's on. So, or when this game, no, actually, I'll be on the way to the airport to Miami, to go to Miami. So, a little thing in advance, there'll be no sort of week 7 review. No week 8 review, because I'll be still reviewing next week, but when it comes to the week after that, I won't be able to review the game. So, yeah, you'll hear myself talking. I think the review might be before these games happen. So, we'll be recording on Monday night due to my Tuesday morning travels. So, you won't get any review of this, but these games should be quite exciting. And certainly, I'll be watching them at some point. I'm sure I might download it on Game Pass and watch it at the airport or on the flight. Not sure how the girlfriend will take that, me watching NFL for 5 hours on a flight, but should be a good game. This one, I think the Cardinals Chargers won't be that great, but I think Ravens Bucks is going to be a great game. I mean, the Buccaneers scoring 30-odd points and losing, and then scoring 51 points against the Saints. They're absolutely cooking right now, and I think this is going to be a hell of a game. I think this could be actually the best game of the week. I think on paper it's Niners Chiefs, or it's probably Lions Vikings, or Packers Texans. I think this game could be really good. You got Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. You've got Derrick Henry and Zay Flowers, Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield. 2 very good defenses, certainly up front. And this to me can be a hell of a game. I'm going to give the Ravens the win. I just have more faith in Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry than I do. Then again, I do like Baker as well. It's tough. The Ravens are probably due a loss, to be fair, because they have won 3-4 games on the bounce now. I just think they keep rolling. I'm a big fan of the Ravens right now, so I'm giving me the Ravens over the Bucks. But I wouldn't be shocked if it's the Buccaneers that win this game. But for you, Lee, who wins these final 2 games?
So yeah, these two, I'm in agreement. I'm torn between the Ravens and the Bucks, but I think I'm going to side with the Bucks. Like I say, it was a coin toss really for me. Like you say, the Bucks offense is really doing some good stuff right now. So yeah, I give the Bucks, but I'm in agreement with the Chargers. I think the Chargers will have enough to see off the Cardinals. Okay,
that is the end of our predictions. But before we do end it, we both went for wins for the Jags, the Bills, the Bengals, the Packers, the Dolphins, Lions, Rams, Commanders, Jets, and Chargers, where we went for different scorelines in the other games. So I went for a win for the Saints, Lee went for the Broncos. I went for a win for the Falcons. Lee went for the Seahawks. And then otherwise, Lee went for the Eagles to win over the Giants. I went for the Giants. Lee went for the Niners over the Chiefs. I went for the Chiefs. And then also finally, I went for the Ravens to win over the Bucks. And Lee went for the Bucks. So yeah, that is the end of our episode. So first of all, once again, thank you, Lee, for coming on today.
No, I really appreciate you having me on. Looking forward to seeing you on Sunday. And yeah, hopefully we get to witness a better performance than this week.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing you again. I'm seeing you a few months ago at the Bristol event. Of course, seeing you on StreamYard a couple of times since. So it'd be nice to see you there. And it should be, hopefully, a nice warm day. It's weather forecast isn't great. I don't think at the moment. It seems to change all the time. But hopefully the weather holds up for what should be a good game at Wembley Stadium. For those of you who are listening to the podcast or watching on YouTube, if you are going to the game, have a great time. Enjoy the Wembley experience. If you're watching at home, enjoy it regardless. This has been our Week 7 preview with myself, your host, Andy Davis, and our guest today, Lee White, aka BritJag. Do give a follow on socials, and we'll see you guys for our next episode.